You may have your tree decorated, but have you ever made jewelry for the holiday season? Hey guys, I'm Katie, and today we're going to get in the holiday spirit and make some Christmas tree earrings. I think this is a great project for anybody who just loves to work with wire, or if you just want to be festive. I have two examples over here beside me. One is what I'm going to show you, the wire version, and one is with beads added. So I'm just going to show you how to make it with wire, and then if you want, you can make it your own, add beads, add charms, do whatever you want. Okay, so let's go over the supplies and tools we need for this project. We're going to need our hammer and bench block. You might want to have your nylon jaw pliers since we are working with wire. Your 6-step bail shaping plier, a bent chain nose or chain nose plier, flat nose plier, flush cutter, round nose plier, 26 gauge wire, 18 gauge wire, a pair of ear wires, or you can make your own with 20 gauge wire, something for the star of your tree. You can use little spacer beads or these little star charms or anything you have at home, a couple of head pins, and 2 crystals for the trunk, which also you can use whatever you have at home. This is just what I'm using today. We're going to start with the base of the Christmas tree with the 18 gauge wire. I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. I'm going to cut this coil off. I don't need that. All right, so I'm going to cut about 8 inches of wire. And I'm going to start with the bottom of the Christmas tree. I'm going to make a sharp bend with my flat nose plier and do another one over here. So this is going to be the base of my tree. And if you're making earrings, it's a good idea to just go ahead and do the other one at the same time. Cut another piece. Make a 90-degree bend. And go ahead and get those bottom lengths at the same time. That just will save you later. Okay. So then up here at the top, we're just going to make a little loop, and I'll just put my tree down beside so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So we're making this part. So what you're going to do is bring both sides up here and kind of decide how big you want your tree to be. And you're just going to, I like to hold it with my pliers right here where they cross, and then start wrapping one around the other. You might want to use a tool to help you do that. And just do about 3 coils. So, and then with the piece right here, you're going to push it to the side. And now I'm going to trim that little tail off the back. And trim this here. And with my round nose plier, I'm just going to roll it back. So So now you can kind of straighten up this top portion, make sure that everything, all the angles are right, and go ahead and do your other base at the same time. I'll usually just kind of squeeze it with my flat nose plier if I need to make sure everything's straight. And now we're just going to give it a light hammer. Grab your chasing hammer and your bench block and just give it a light hammer so that your wire has something to grab onto. And this is plated wire, so if you go too hard, it's going to take the plating off. So just lightly tap. Okay, so now we are ready to go to the next step. You're gonna want to grab your 26 gauge wire. And we're gonna start by making this little loop at the bottom here to hang the trunk off of. So you're just gonna need about 4 or 5 inches of wire and your round nose plier. Hold your tree in your hand and your wire. Leave a little tail as well in your hand. And you're gonna wrap 3 coils really tight right here at the bottom, just a little off center. And with your round nose plier, grab it here, loop your wire around and down, and then wrap 3 more times. That's just an easy way to make your own loop if you need to add one. So then just trim those tails in the back. And with your chain nose plier, just make sure they're not poking out. Okay, and now we are ready to go across with the wire. And you can do as much or as little as you like. This one over here, I really filled up. I'm gonna show you today an alternate way where you can just do a little bit less. But I don't know if you can see this, but up here, basically I start up here at the top with actually I started at the bottom. That's what I did. And I wrapped a few coils, went across, and then walked up with a few coils, went across, and you can see all the coiling around the side. So you don't have to do that much wrapping if you don't want to. And then of course you can also add beads along the way, which is super fun and festive too, but you might just want a metal look. Another great thing is you can add wire as you go. It doesn't have to be perfect, so you don't have to start with a huge amount of wire, which can be overwhelming sometimes. So I'm just gonna start with a couple of feet. Okay, so I'm gonna start at the bottom. And with my first one, I'm gonna keep the long tail in my left hand. And I'm gonna make my coil from here going down to the corner. I'm using 26 gauge, but you can also use 24 gauge, you could use 22 gauge. You could even use more than 1 gauge to give it some depth. Trim that tail off. tuck it in, and then make sure that your coils are all kind of bunched together. Okay, so all we're gonna do is straighten it with our hand, come across to the other side. So, and then do another few coils. And then once you're done with that, you're going to come back across and do the same thing. I guess this kind of gives it a little tinsel effect. And you just keep going up a piece and do the same thing. And I'm just going to start to space these out a little bit more. You can even use colorful wire if you want to do that. I know we have some 20 gauge that comes in green and red. That would be really pretty too. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple more. I'll do one more on this side and then I'll be done with wrapping, and I'll show you to wrap it up at the top. When you get up here to the top, it can be a little tricky, so just make sure you poke the end through, and then while you pull it, use your hand to push it down. And when you get to the top, you can just do a few coils up here. Flip it over, trim it in the back, and make sure you press it down so it doesn't poke you or come undone. Don't forget that as you go, you can add little beads across if you want. I used seed beads. You can also do so many other things. Make it your own. All right, now I'm going to show you how to attach to the little tree trunk on there. Grab a head pin and a crystal. And with your round nose plier, grab just above the bead, about 1/4 of an inch into your plier. Bend it 90 degrees away from you. Readjust your plier right beyond that little bend, and while holding the bottom of the head pin, roll it back and bring that tail down and around. Now you can attach it to your piece before you close your loop. And I like to use my round nose pliers to grab the loop here and make a coil. I'll even use my tool here to help me get that nice wrap. And then you just trim off the tail. And now we're ready to work on the top. Okay, so depending on what you're going to use for the star, it probably depends on the type of ear wire that you're going to want to use. Here you can see I made my own. I made a nice big loop so that I was able to get the star and the tree on there. Same with this one. I made my own, and it was nice because the loop was big so the star could go on. So I'm actually going to show you how to use one of these spacer beads here. And I'm going to make my own ear wires with a big, really big loop. So just cut 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire. Flush cut the ends. And grab your bail shaping plier. And you can see the hole on these is really kind of in the center. So I'm going to use this bigger bail as the bottom, and hopefully this will work. Grab it at the very end and roll it back. And then flip till the largest one is underneath your piece. And bring those pieces down. And while they're still together, just cut those. Now you have 2 ear wires. So hopefully this will work. You might want to do a little bit of work hardening on these and make sure the end is filed. Just open that up. Slide on your piece. And slide on your little star. And then you're done. So those are just 3 different ways you can do the Christmas tree earring. Totally up to you. Add beads, make it simple, make it your own. Okay, let's go back over the tools and supplies we used for this project. We used 18 gauge wire for the base, 26 gauge wire to wrap across. We used 20 gauge to make our own ear wires, but if you want, you can use ones that are already made. We had our little star spacer beads, but you can use what you have, as well as for the trunk, we used 6mm bicone and 2 head pins. We used our chasing hammer and bench block. We used our nylon jaw plier, bent chain nose plier, flush cutter, flat nose plier, round nose plier, and 6-step bail shaping plier. If you need to pick up any of the tools or supplies we used today, check out the links in the description below. What would you use to decorate your Christmas tree earrings? Let us know in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. So now that you know how to make these Christmas tree earrings, you can say, I made this!